Welcome back, Bears fans. I'm Jerry with Dub Bears Talk, and today we are going to be talking about a huge move that could be happening for the Chicago Bears, not necessarily by the Bears, but with another team in the Atlanta Falcons that seems to have been doing some tampering. We're going to talk about that today. So, like the video if you've liked these videos. Don't forget to subscribe. Just hit 100 subscribers, so thank you very much, everybody, for that. I appreciate that. On the road to 500. I would like to get to 500. I don't know. Shooting for the stars maybe by the trade deadline, week 8 of the season. Let's try to do that. So 500 subscribers. Share with your friends. Let your friends and your family know. But let's get right into this. So the Atlanta Falcons we've probably all seen the talks with where Kirk Cousins and Kyle Pitts were talking about the number 8 and everything, and that was kind of the first big story that hit. That necessarily isn't a problem, but adding everything up together, Kirk Cousins and the Falcons got the deal done 86 minutes into the legal tampering time period, which is very quick. Now, there is a 52-hour window that precedes that, which is strictly for agents to deal with. So if a player has an agent, the agent can speak with the higher-ups of the team and try to sort out a deal, and that's perfectly legal. But there's a quote that I'm going to go over right now. I'm going to repeat for you that Kirk Cousins said in his press conference that is the exact reason, and he basically gives away that he was tampering. So it starts off with, "That's why when you get here and look around, you think, boy, there's some great people here, and not just the football team. I mean, looking at the support staff, calling our head athletic trainer, talking to the head of PR. I'm thinking we got good people here." I kept getting, and then the other quote was, "I kept getting off calls, whether it was Jake Matthews, team chaplain, Ryan Pace, McGarry, Drake London, and then he said, Julie, these guys are sharp," or something like that to his wife, and that was in a press conference that happened 3 hours after the tampering window opened. So 3 hours after he could start talking to Ryan Pace and all of the other not the members of the team, but, in the front office. He apparently had all these conversations, and he talked to, the best part is where he stumbles, and he says he had a meeting, and then he goes, a call with the head athletic trainer and talking to the head of PR. Now, head of PR isn't too bad, but I do believe that would still be that would definitely factor in if there was other things that he did that would factor in to a tampering allegation. But then the head athletic trainer, I think, definitely would be in effect. You can't be doing that. And then as well as all the conversations with Kyle Pitts. Why was he having conversations with Kyle Pitts, days or maybe even a week in advance about the number change? They had to clearly have some information. Now, the Kyle Pitts situation alone is not going to be a reason for tampering unless they can find proof that the front office of the Falcons went to Kyle Pitts and go, "Hey, you've been talking to him. You should talk about this." Then there would be a problem. Or if Kirk's agent went, "Hey, you should tell Kyle Pitts this," or if there was an issue there, then that would be something to talk about. So I don't think the Kyle Pitts thing is really going to be what screws this up for the Falcons, or whatever ends up happening. But like I said, they can talk during that. The agents and the front office can talk during the 52-hour period, but not the player. The only occasion where a player can is when they're not represented by an agent. Then a player can go in there, but even there is still some gray area, and it's kind of like, how is that fair that because he doesn't have an agent he can? But all these windows are fairly new, so that's why they don't have the greatest rules and regulations put up. How is this going to help the Bears, you're asking right now, because this is supposed to be a Bears page? Well, let's look back into 2008. In 2008, the 49ers lost a 5th-round pick and a pick swap with Chicago in the 3rd round because of Lance Briggs' trade talk. So I believe in that case, Lance Briggs was on a franchise tag, and so that's why there was a trade that was involved, or a swap rather of picks, because Briggs was talking, or, 49ers were engaging with Lance Briggs about contract talks before the tampering window, and Chicago ends up getting him back, but the 49ers lose their fifth and have to swap their thirds with the Bears. Then Chiefs in 2015, they lost their third round and their seventh round pick for trying to have conversations with Jeremy Maclin before the legal tampering period started. Now that's big time because that's just Jeremy Maclin. Jeremy Maclin at that point was towards the end of his career. He was a good wide receiver, but a third and a seventh is kind of big time, for having those conversations. For, again, especially a guy like Jeremy Maclin, who, not that he was, bad or phased out of the league or anything, but he was definitely kind of past his prime at the very least. And then most recently, this past year, the Dolphins in their tampering with Tom Brady and Sean Payton. That resulted in losing their first round pick this year, or it was last year, and then their third round pick this year because of trying to have talks with Tom Brady and Sean Payton before that window. Now, the reason this affects the Bears is because the Dolphins lost their first round pick. If the Falcons lose their first round pick, the Bears move up a spot. The Bears move from the 9th pick to the 8th pick. So the same way people like to frame our absolutely horrible and biggest L of Ryan Poles' career trade of Chase Claypool for the 32nd overall pick, that was the 32nd overall pick because the Dolphins ended up losing their pick. That's how it became that. But then you can frame that as basically Chase Claypool got traded for a first round pick, which is, we won't talk about that. That was horrible. Ryan Poles' worst move, but he's made a lot of good ones. In this case, moving from the 9 to the 8 would be huge because a lot of people are talking about if a team wants J.J. McCarthy, that might be the spot they'd have to trade to, and that would probably be because the Falcons would take him. So you would say that wouldn't necessarily be a good reason, but it also could be because of the teams around them if they're worried about somebody else taking them. People are talking about, needing to get past 11 to take J.J. McCarthy because they think the Vikings are going to, and there's been talks of teams wanting to trade up for him. So keeping all that in mind, I think even if it doesn't, it's not necessarily doing too much because technically every team behind you is benefiting from the Falcons losing a pick. I think you benefit extra because the Falcons were also usually in mock drafts are supposed to get a defensive end or, a top defensive player off the board. And that would give the Bears the opportunity to do that. Or for the people that want to take a receiver, it's another team that can't take a receiver, which I don't think the Falcons would with how their receiving core is set up. But it's another team that can't take a receiver. And so this ends up being huge for the Chicago Bears. And I think that in my mind, I think it also, for me in a mock draft, I think if Jared Verse, Dallas Turner, and Laiatu Latu, I think if they're all there, I think you trade back and take one of the best of those three players. And I think that's personally how I think the Bears should use the 9th pick or even the 8th pick. If Dallas Turner's there, I think, you also could just stick and pick Dallas Turner. I really like Dallas Turner and Jared Verse. Everybody was talking about how Dallas Turner's measurables were off the board. And I think the one thing that made him jump off the page for me was the arm length because he did kind of get knocked because he was short. He's only 6'2", or maybe they ended up listing him at 6'3", which is a little smaller for a defensive end. And he'll look extra small with Montez Sweat and Javon Dexter on the defensive line as well. But I think that, getting a guy like Dallas Turner or Jared Verse, or having the ability to, or even if they do the thing they did last year where they go, we're going to trade back one pick to acquire a fourth because we have no draft picks this year. They could do that. Again, there's a lot of talk of teams needing to trade up to that spot to take the quarterback that they want. And if the Bears take over that pick, yes, it removes the Falcons from taking that quarterback, but it also puts that Bears in the position to, again, stick and pick with whoever they want. Or there's people talking about wide receivers. There's people saying that they want them to trade up for a wide receiver. Well, if you want to get one of the three and you think that the wide receivers are going to go 4, 5, 6 to the Cardinals, Chargers, Giants, then you could trade up with the Giants. You're only trading up 2 spots, though. So your compensation, which I don't think they should do, they don't have a lot of picks to begin with, unless you can trade a low value player, which you probably can't, I don't think that's worth it. I think if a wide receiver falls and there's an edge off the board that you wanted, then you could take that receiver. But I really think edge rusher should be the move. And I think that there's a huge scenario where the Bears are going to be in a spot where they can either take their favorite off the board if they really do have a favorite edge rusher that they want, or they can trade back and probably still get one. Like if you think of Dallas Turner as 1 and Jared Verse and Laiatu Latu are 2A and 2B, you absolutely trade that pick back unless you think that, Dallas Turner is just worlds above the other two. I don't really think he is. I think Jared Verse and Dallas Turner are actually closer than a lot of people. And then I think Laiatu Latu is really good too. I just think the injury concerns are there. But Jared Verse is an absolute animal, and he is the strongest in the defensive lineman in the draft with 31 reps on the bench press. But I think this just ends up being a huge move for the Bears, though. Again, not they're making a move, but when you get to move up one spot in the top 10 for free, last year it cost the Eagles a 4th round pick. That 4th round pick turned into Keenan Allen. So the Bears might move up for free. They might have an option. What if they trade back one pick and then they're picking at 9 like they would have been anyway, and then they get another draft pick that ends up turning into a Keenan Allen or, insert whoever here. But let me know what you think down below. Do you think that this could affect the Bears as much as I do? And then, of course, you have to tie this into it. Ryan Pace, obviously old Bears GM, somehow finding a way to help the Bears in the draft, which, we have plenty of old Bears that like to do that. Lovie Smith, obviously, being the biggest one to help the Bears get the number 1 pick that turns into one of the greatest trades in history of Bryce Young for what could be Caleb Williams, Tyreek Stevenson, Keenan Allen, DJ Moore. There's just so many and more picks to come. So let me know what you think down below in the comments. Is this huge news for the Bears, or is this something you're probably just going to look past? Do you think it should happen? And then like the video if you liked it. Subscribe. Again, we're going to try to get to 500 subscribers by week 8 this season. Tall goal, but I think we can do it. So subscribe to the video. Thank you for watching, and bear down.